Well, might be relatively easy.
I'd like
I
to.
have the prettier one that won't be out.
Sarah, you ready? Right. We will call the regular meeting of October 11th, 2022 to order. We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm stepping over my feet here.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Douglas,
Here.
Ms. Hayes,
Here.
Mr. Horvath.
Here.
Mrs. Sensi.
Here.
And Mr. Thompson.
Here.
We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move.
A second?
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion-
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 6, 2022?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Sensi.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 20th, 2022?
I'll move. I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sensi.
Yes.
Motion.
Beginning board member reports, we'll start with a moment of silence. It is always sad to learn of someone's passing, especially when it is a member of our Madison family. Recently, we learned of the passing of Bill Hance, a retired teacher for the Madison local schools. Bill was born in Mount Vernon, New York on February 2nd, 1941. He graduated from Rye Neck High School and went on to earn a bachelor's degree from Hillsdale College, a degree from the University of Grenoble, France, and his master's degree from the University of Buffalo. Bill was a teacher at Madison High School, as well as an assistant football coach and head football coach. Bill retired in 1999. He was elected to the Madison High School Hall of Fame for his coaching tenure in girls fast pitch softball. Bill will be missed by Nancy, his wife of 57 years, and his children, William, Margaret, Victoria, and Beth, as well as his grandchildren and his friends. All of us at Madison Schools extend our deepest and most sincere sympathy to Bill's family and friends. All right, are there any board members wishing to give a report this evening?
Yeah, or the company I work for, we attended Manufacturing Day last week. It was at, it's an annual event. It was at Willoughby South. And actually met up with Mr. Wad from the high school. And next semester, they're gonna have the manufacturing class. And I'll come in and I told him that I have some others too that may be interested in coming in and speaking to the class. So it was nice to see the kids there, whether they're going into college or trade school or right to work, just interacting with them and talking with them. It was nice from the different schools.
Well, and I think one of the things that's important is a lot of these companies are looking for people that are committed to going into manufacturing as a career and will pay for college.
Absolutely.
So, when
I
we're
told some of
talking,
them that.
yeah, when we're talking about student loan debt and all of those things, this is a opportunity for kids that might be thinking of engineering as a career to go in and go that direction and get it paid for. We've had that happen in previous years with some of our students in this district. So it's a good opportunity.
We hosted that event last year, the year before.
No, it's pre-COVID, so probably 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, last year was it.
It feels like it was last year.
I know,
does.
it was. Well, that was last year. It was normal.
I think it was 19.
Yeah, AWT, they They had their ribbon cutting for their
Right.
center this week too, so.
Yeah.
That's a good thing too.
A lot of good things, and there's a piece on WKYC about the AWT
Yeah.
ribbon cutting.
Yeah.
Which, we've been connected with the robotics
Yeah.
since the beginning, and we're usually one of the schools that has the most teams.
Is there anyone else wishing to give a report?
I do not have a report, but I noticed that we haven't been doing this for a while, and we used to do it all the time. And I was just admiring this artwork right here. So I think that we should point out, let people see what it is and who did it. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All right, it says Gabriella Maria from 8th grade middle school, and it's called a digital mosaic, and they did a great job. It's very pretty. That's all.
We could bring those back.
Yeah, we should. We definitely should.
And we are getting a, in our new copy contract, if we approve this tonight, we are making one change to it where we're gonna get a production style printer.
Mhm.
So we could print those off for them like we used to do. And laminate them, and they could have those.
That'd be great. Yeah, I think they would enjoy that.
All right, we don't have anyone registered for speaking tonight, so we'll move on to reports and recommendations of the treasurer.
Just a few things before I move into my section that I wanted to report on. We are in the midst of our regular audit right now, so the whole treasurer's office is trying to compile information for the auditors. You will notice later on in the agenda that my current accounts payable clerk, Lynn Latina, she currently works 3 days a week. She'll be moving to 5 days a week since Lindy Woodworth resigned. The permanent appropriations were accepted by the county. We received that back the other day. I'm currently finalizing the 5-year forecast, which will be on next month's agenda. And some good news, the school safety grant that Mrs. Smith had initially applied for last year, we were able to finalize it, and it was approved. So that was,
How much is it?
that was
$202,000
yeah,
$202,000
for cameras and
Yep.
door sensors
and cabling.
and cabling.
So I will piggyback on that then, because that was in my report that the cameras have arrived. No, the cameras have arrived. So we got the funding, the cameras are here. We're in the process of scheduling the cabling to enhance our outdoor camera systems to the buildings. So we're thinking before Christmas break, the project will be totally done.
Okay, so every building is getting more outside cameras,
Correct.
and how do I put this? Is anyone monitoring those cameras during the daytime?
They can be monitored at any point, at any time. I have access on my phone. I have access. Buildings, yes.
School resource
School
officers
yes.
have the setup. that
Principals.
they
Okay.
can use it. And
Great.
you can go back and look over time, so.
Yeah.
Something happens in the evening, you can look and see what was caught.
Nobody's sitting, looking at them 24/7, but
Right,
if
but
there's an issue, you can easily see what the issue is. Yes.
How long does it hold the tape?
I will have to check, but I think we have like a 30-day window on that tape. In the cloud, yeah. But I will double check and get an answer for you.
Okay. Next, just moving on to the financial statements for September 2022. I'd like to recommend the approval of the financials for September of 2022.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
yes,
and Mr. Horvath.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next is item 8.02, then and now certificates. So I'd like to recommend the approval of the below then and now certificates for September 2022.
I'll move.
A second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
yes.
and Mr. Horvath.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda are the donations. And so I would like to recommend the approval of the donations, and then I'll go ahead after the vote and read them one by one.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion? Thank you in advance. Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes. And the donations were $100 from Mary Perilla to South Elementary Schools to be used as needed for the Angels account. A generous donation of $1,000 from Convenient Food Mart to Madison Middle School Principal Fund to be used as needed. A generous donation of $100 from Thomas DeSalvatore to Madison High School Ecology to be used as needed for projects. A generous donation of $300 from the Kiwanis Club of Madison to Madison High School Ecology to be used for projects. A generous donation of $100 from Wendy Sad to Madison Middle School Principal Fund to be used for PBIS supports. A generous donation of 10 Halloween costumes from Buckeye Auto Sales to North Elementary School to be used as needed. A generous donation of $50 from the Osborne family to Madison Middle School to help students with food needs. A generous donation of $100 from the Patel family to Madison Middle School Principal Fund to be used as needed. A generous donation of $175 from French Chiropractic Wellness Center to be used as needed. And a generous donation of apples from West Wind Farm, the Polson family to Madison High School to be shared with student families in need. We already voted on that. So next on the agenda is item 8.04. And this is the resolution to authorize the purchase from the school bus bids from the Ohio Schools Council. So there was already 2 previous resolutions that the board had approved. And we did have a bid that came in from Myers that was lower than all of the other bids. So the purpose of this resolution is to go ahead and send it to the Ohio Schools Council so we can begin the process of getting those buses. And I have been working with Joey from Transportation, who's been incredibly helpful. And so hopefully there is a lag time in getting buses right now due to just the economy, but hopefully we'll be able to procure them by the end of this year. So yes, I am asking for approval of resolution 22-1011 to authorize the purchase from school bus bids received by the Ohio schools.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
You know what? I have a quick question actually about buses. So, because you and I have been talking a lot about buses lately, and you indicated that we don't have enough buses sometimes for field trips and things like that. So with any of the buses that we are getting new, are all of these to replace these buses, or will we have a decent bus out of these to set aside for when we need an additional bus?
We have to set aside
Yeah, there's
the buses. There's conditions for the grant.
yeah, there's
So we get 4 and we have to return 4, basically.
we have
take 'em
to
off the
take
floor.
them off the lot.
So we still don't have enough buses.
We do not. Our fleet is very old. One of the things that I've been looking at, as you know, because we've had some conversations, is I asked Joey yesterday, how many of our buses are over 12 years old? And there are between 17 to 19 is what he told me in a quick count. So we keep a very aging fleet on the road. We do not, if a bus were to go down, we have 4 right now in spare. We have 31 buses that work here as of right now, and 27 routes.
But the buses are inspected every year by the Ohio
Absolutely.
State Highway Patrol to make sure that they're safe, so that
Eh,
even though they're older,
Exactly.
they've been approved by
Yes,
the State
right,
Highway
no.
Patrol.
Absolutely, and we have, like I've said a million times, probably one of the best mechanics on staff in the entire state. And just a couple weeks ago, again, on the news, they were doing reports of fleets that didn't pass inspection. And one of them was a district with lots of money. So, you know, we do a whole lot with very little money to make sure our students are safe. Because I was shocked when I heard the district. I'm not gonna advertise that in a meeting, but it's a West Side district that has money. And I was like, wow. So Joe does a good job.
All right, does that conclude your report, Sarah?
That does.
Reports to the
All right.
administrative team.
Well, I want to start by showing you this evening, if you noticed, everybody that's come to board meetings, the agenda looks a little different. And we have moved into the modern era where we are actually able to work with our board agenda. If I can maybe get this stuff up there. Where our board policies are. So if you go to the board page, click on board policies, it will eventually say board policies and agendas. But Susan is on vacation this week, so when she gets back, that's something she will update on the webpage. And it goes to board docs where people, if you're looking for policies, would go. And this is the way they set it up. To me, I'm more of a visual and I want to hear, but you've got to go up here and you go to meetings. And then here is our agenda. And eventually minutes will be here. Everything will be in one stop through the board docs. And you click on that, and then you can look to view the agenda. People can print the agenda. But that's where they'll be from now on. So it will no longer be in a Word document that one person can have access to. There'll be several hands that can look at it, make changes in real time. So,
So I have a question.
yes.
Well, actually for my board members, do any of you typically go on the website often?
I wouldn't say often, but I do.
Okay, does anybody else find it difficult to find things on the website? I just don't feel that it's really, does anybody else have difficult time finding things on the website? Okay, so it is not just me. Okay, you have a difficult time?
Yeah.
Okay,
This will
what can we do about our user-friendly, user-friendly website?
Well, we just did that upgrade. A year or two ago. It's pretty user friendly. So I guess if there's changes you want made, you've got to tell me what. you
I
want
just
see
want it to
made.
be easier to find things.
Like, give me.
Like,
an example.
okay, so let's say I want to buy a ticket. That's one of the things here, okay? So I go here and I'm thinking, okay, where is it? Because I see nothing that says tickets.
Go to.
So
Go
I
to
go,
athletics.
so I go to athletics. And it says click here to buy tickets and it points this way. But you
No.
click and click and click, there's
No,
nothing
scroll down,
there.
scroll down.
So then you have to go down.
I will tell you, our website isn't mobile friendly as much as it is
No,
desktop.
It's desktop. It is a
When you get
desktop
to your
website.
phone, it does change it
It
a little
does.
bit.
So you would just go to click tickets right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's what it's pointing to because on my
You can't see
phone,
it.
it points to nothing and I click and click because it's blue and
Right.
nothing happens.
Yep.
Stop laughing at me. I know I'm not the only one.
Right, they do.
Yeah, a lot of people use their phone. So we do kind of need to try and make it more
I will
mobile
ask-
friendly.
Maybe there are some mobile things and I will set up a meeting with our website people. to Find out.
There is something you can do
Yeah.
to
There
to
is.
make it mobile friendly.
Yeah. Because if you're looking at it, the first time you view it, and if you view it on a mobile device, I think it'll say, do you want to see the whole site or you want to
Right.
see the mobile? So,
Well, and maybe it was easy to find on there, but for example, like homecoming tickets. Who would think to go to athletics for homecoming tickets?
well, because we use hometown ticketing for all our events now.
But rather than clicking on Madison High School, which is where the homecoming is, You know, you should be able to click on Madison High School, find a link for homecoming and, or maybe there it says, go to athletics too, but who would have thought
That needs to
athletics
be
is where you get your tickets for homecoming?
I will find out how we can make it a little more user friendly, especially since hometown ticketing at the high school is our way that we are doing like all the dances and anything that we have to sell tickets for. It's drama, plays, it all goes through hometown ticketing now.
All right, and then that leads me to another question, because we don't sell any tickets at the door any longer.
No.
So, and our seniors get in free.
Right.
Do our seniors need a ticket to get in free?
I don't think so, but I will ask John.
Because okay, they don't need a ticket?
I don't think so.
Okay,
That hasn't been a problem. Trust me, I would get complaints if they had to have a ticket.
okay. Just checking.
All right. But I will find out about how we can make it a little more user friendly with those links out there. Especially for parents, because the kids know to go there. But they're not always the one buying the tickets.
Yeah, maybe my daughter doesn't pay attention, but she had no idea. She's like, I don't know, you put this code in someplace. I gave you the code. I was like, great, what do I do with it?
All right. All right, so that's the web page, the agenda, and that's how it'll come out from now on. And, the link will be publicized in an update coming out Friday. Just to remind people that we're switching to that mode. It is budget season in Columbus. As you know, we're all going down to the Capitol Conference, so I'm sure there will be some presentations on the Fair School Funding Plan as they gear up to petition the legislature to fully fund the plan. I will tell you that when I was in Columbus last week for a meeting, they talked about the state budget. State ended very well in the last fiscal year. So they're saying there's money to be shared amongst organizations. We all know how this works. So, everybody's going to lobby. We have a lame duck legislature. Nothing's going to happen until the governor announces the budget in February, usually. And if there's no change in the governor, then that's going to happen relatively quickly because they're already working on that, preparing for that if, he's reelected. Then it goes to the legislature, who will hear testimony, then to the Senate, then to the conference committee. And from the conference committee will come a final budget, hopefully by July 30th or June 30th for July 1. So again, we will have many incantations of what is going to impact education. The thing we will have to watch is not the budget, but we are in a lame duck legislature. So that means a lot of things could come down the pike that will impact education because they seem to like to do that between November after the elections and before they leave. So it'll be interesting to see what comes down the pike, and I will keep you apprised of that as I hear things. It is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and we, this year is the prep year for next year when we have to go into enacting the dyslexia law that has been passed. They did give us a year reprieve, especially for some districts. Our district's in pretty good shape because we are able to use our letters training for the teachers that have as the mandatory training. So we just have to train some new staff and we'll be in good shape to meet the compliance of that law. But some districts weren't ready for it. So they did give us a little bit of a reprieve. We have also National Bullying Awareness Month. And tomorrow is a day recognized by the state to, recognize that we need to be kind to our students. The PBI whole model of PBIS. Mrs. Grau shared with me that before, that on Thursday, she's taking about 20 kids to the kindness rally in Mentor, and Mrs. Vaca's taking about another 23. So we have 40 kids attending a kindness rally in Mentor. And it's also School Safety Awareness Month, and our staff is throughout the district between now and the end of the year are doing drills to meet with the compliance of that law. And each week, the ODE has been publishing all the different ways that school safety is important. And this week is Emotional Safety Week. That's tied to the National Bullying Awareness Month. If you have a chance, and I'm going to send it out to staff tomorrow, there's a video that I started following this one group that does a cappella music called Home Free. But about 13 years ago, actually longer than 13 years ago, because I've been in Madison 20 years. So it was when I was teaching 8th grade in Mentor, there's a song called Don't Laugh at Me by Mark Wills. And they did a video release redoing this video or redoing this song with showing some kids with Down syndrome that were being picked on and how to overcome and, how to be strong and stand up for yourself. And it's very moving. And I encourage everybody to take a minute and watch it. But it's by Mark Wills, Home Free, called Don't Laugh at Me. And it's, it really is the message of, everybody's going through something. We all need to be a little bit kind.
Kind thing. Where's the kind thing at?
In Mentor? Yeah.
In the high school there?
Yes.
It's like an all day thing or just a couple hours?
From 9 to 11:30,
That's tomorrow,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Can I ask how you chose what students would go?
So the administrators contacted me for both high school and middle school for NJHS and NHS to go. But I already set it up for the middle school. So we were gonna take the 8th graders because they have a limit on how many students you could take, 25, which then the limit was changed 2 days ago to as many as you want. So we opened up to the 7th graders as well. So the 20 students that are going from the middle school are the NJHS students that were able to go. We couldn't take a lot of them didn't all go because we had just done the field trip last week to the North Building, so they didn't want to miss as much school. And then the high school group, as Mr. Brady asked me to take the high school kids, we're not taking both, but just me. So we had Julie Vaca, she's taking her honors English class, which are freshmen. He wanted underclassmen. So the middle school kids, when we come back, we're gonna be meeting and going through what they did for the day, and then they're gonna be teaching or coming up with lessons that they can introduce to the advisory classes across the building. We're not sure what that's gonna look like yet, because we don't know. I know there's a guest speaker and he's also a magician. So that is, we're not sure what we're doing there, other than they have a lot planned. And it's open to middle and high school students for Lake Geauga and Ashtabula counties.
Very good. So they're going to learn skills and things that they're going to bring back and teach other kids.
That's what we're doing. By making them.
Well, that's good, because I'm thinking that, like, chances are, and I think it's fabulous that you're taking these kids, but I'm also thinking, like, chances are the ones that need to learn how to be kind are probably not the ones going to the kindness rally. So if they're bringing it back to share with everyone, then hopefully
I look at
everyone will get a message from it.
And they're gonna go to something like this, then they need to do something with it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
just going there and attending is not good enough.
Right.
And since they're the leadership of the building, then they're gonna come back. Now, they don't necessarily know that yet.
Don't call us.
I sort of said they're gonna do something, but it's gonna be a lot more structured. So, but I didn't roll it out to them because I'm not quite sure what we're doing.
Sure.
there, so
No, I
we'll figure it out.
understand.
But we'll come up with something.
Awesome.
And
Very good.
I will share that with you. going forward. And then the homecoming was this past weekend, and I just want to congratulate again Queen Liz Lawson and King Jeffrey Smith. You want to talk about the student body rallying for a student. They all rallied around Jeffrey Smith, who has been a longtime member of Project Unify and has worked at Unique Like Me in Painesville, and just a great young man. And, you know, Liz Lawson, another great young lady. And it was just a great weekend for these two, as well as all the court and all the kids, because, you know, Monday after homecoming, I didn't hear anything negative. Everybody had a good time. You know, the photo booth was a nice touch, I guess, this year, and kids really did enjoy themselves. So that's a good thing. And now I am going to turn it over to Dave, who's going to throw some of that educational lingo at you.
I'm gonna give you a lot of technical jargon today.
Talking about response to intervention, known as RTI.
Just real quick update before that.
That's right, I forgot
A
about
meeting or
that.
two ago, I had talked about desperate need for substitute teachers. Our principals have put messages out to the families. We supplied the steps that it takes to go ahead and get the 1-year substitute license. And I've had about 15 people, either I've interviewed some and gotten them started in the process. And I've got about half of that group getting scheduled now to come in, and we're hoping that those numbers keep coming in. But that right there is 3 additional subs per building that we didn't have before. So we want to grow this to be a Madison-based group of substitute teachers who are ready to come in and help out. And hopefully, you know, we were at 75% class coverage. Hopefully, we're able to get that up to 100% and not have to pull teachers from different places to try to cover. So, yeah, it's an opportunity we have, and it seems like there's an interest among some folks in our community. So we're excited to see how this little project works.
Nice.
So then the other part today, I'm going to send this around, and you're going to look at this and say, "Boy, I have no idea what any of that stuff is." But I just really want to explain to you how this works and what it does for kids. So there's a lot of technical things on there, a lot of different letters that you can look at and say, "I have no idea what that is." But I will kind of go through this and let you know how we're going to use this. This is.
There will be a test on all the,
We're going to pre-test and post-test to see growth. So this last year, I spoke with you about some important work we've been doing for a while now to develop a safety net for students that struggle with reading. You know, if we can catch kids early as they're learning to read and figure out what pieces, what gaps exist and address those gaps, then we're going to develop strong readers. Strong readers are going to be successful in any class, whether it's math, social studies, science. You know, it's going to have an impact on all courses. So we really hit literacy hard. So effectively, this is our GPS system for kids as they learn to read. And if they veer off course a little bit or aren't on course, we want to quickly direct them back on course. So let me just kind of show you what this is and how this is going to work with our teachers. And I know, Gretchen, you're very familiar with this document. The first side I want you to take a look at says K-5 required ELA, English Language Arts assessments, the flow chart on the front. So this breaks it down by kindergarten, grade 1, grades 2 and 3, grades 3 and 4. These are the assessments that students will get to determine, you know, where the gaps are. So across the top there, we have our fall universal screener. Our universal screener is going to hit every child in grades K to 5. Every child's going to take a screener and it's going to give us a result. We do those universal screeners 3 times a year, once in the fall, once in the winter, once in the spring. And that's going to identify the strength of kids reading, and it's going to put them into percentiles. So if you look slightly below that, students who are below the 25th percentile, they're all going to get additional diagnostic assessments. So this is where we drill down deeper to find out where are the gaps, you know, and so we want to find out what pieces are missing, and then we know how to prioritize those pieces and we can start doing the interventions for them. So after the first screener, then we pull that small percentage that are below the 25th percentile in, and we start digging deeper.
So you're going to start providing interventions for kids in kindergarten.
Yes, we have been doing this for a long time. We are just improving our system here.
This is systemic.
Yeah, so this becomes exciting because in the past, it really has been teachers know their kids, they learn their kids. These ones are struggling with reading, so we're going to try some different things and see how they work.
And one of the things that was a big piece missing from this, and Mrs. Bapty can tell you, is we did not have a core reading series to root around it. Reading has really evolved over the years. Many of us at this table were taught phonics. There are some in this room that were taught using the whole language approach. Then there was the balanced literacy approach, which is what Mrs. Bapty came in on when she was hired. And now we've really come full circle back to this idea of the science of reading. So we're really focusing on all parts of reading, the phonetic piece as well as the comprehension piece, and bringing those pieces together. And when we picked a reading series, thank you to the American Rescue Plan money, the ARP money, Open Court provided all of those necessary things, plus the interventions that allowed this to become more systemic.
So, and that's the cool thing about this work is it takes into consideration the work we've been doing for about 6 years with the early literacy work that we did, our teacher team work that's been happening, the adopting of that series, which aligns with the science of reading. All of those things have gone into this process. So what you see on this side are how we're measuring, how we're identifying, how we're figuring, we're diagnosing here what the problem is. So then what's the treatment? And that's where you flip to the back side. So on the left-hand column, you see these are our, down the left-hand column are the essential components of reading. So anyone who is a strong reader is able to do all of the things down the left side of this page. So the next column over is Tier 1. Tier 1 are things that are going to happen in every classroom. So our teachers are going through the open court lessons at about 90 minutes at a time. They're teaching the lesson and they're doing some of these things. They're doing all of these things in Tier 1 that are daily practice. And so kids who maybe come in without some of those things are gonna pick that up. And that's really targeted to those kids who are above the 25th percentile. The ones that are below, so you can see that Tiers 2 in the next column and Tier 3. Tier 2 are kids who go between the 11th percentile up to 25. And then Tier 3 are the ones who are really struggling and with a lot of deficits, and that's anything below the 10th percentile. That's where we get into some more intensive types of interventions. Those things are going to not necessarily, some of them will happen in the regular classroom, but a lot of them are going to happen outside of the regular classroom. So that could be with Title I teachers. We have flex time built into the day at both elementaries, where we try to divide up our kids to go get exactly what they need. And all of the assessing that we're doing on the other side is telling us, where the priorities are. So if we know that some kids who are really low and are at the phonemic awareness stage, we can send them to a class where they're going to do evidence-based strategies to try to close that gap so they can move on to the next component of reading. So the cool thing about this whole thing, I guess, the power of this work that's been in the making for a long time is it takes the guesswork out of it. It's up to the individual teacher to find what they think is going to work, and it makes it prescriptive. So we know their current levels. We try prescribed interventions with the kids, and then we evaluate because, after we've done those diagnostics, we're probably 4 to 6 weeks away from the next screener. So at that point, we said, did the things that we try work or didn't they? And if they didn't, then what else are we going to do? We're going to kind of go back to the drawing board on those students. Again, I mentioned that the strategies that we have in here are based on the learning that we've had for the last 5 years in early literacy and the really deep dive that we've taken into it. This work is systematic, meaning that it automatically happens. And it's systemic which means that it's happening for everybody. So every kid, K to 5, is going to go through this process. We may have to go in and do a deeper dive so that we can figure out exactly where the deficits are and provide support.
And one of the really cool things that's happening this year is the TBT schedules between buildings. There are joint TBTs where the teachers are, zooming in together in both buildings and having these conversations about the teaching of reading. So, with our literacy specialist, she's really pulling people together to have those conversations that are going to make the difference. Along with, I think, all-day kindergarten, we're going to see significant growth in our students this year.
And so one other thing to point out, because, we've talked about our safety net for catching the kids who are struggling. But what about those kids who come to school already reading, who may be bored in, going
Right.
along with the regular what's being done? Well, the screeners are going to show us which kids are kind of really high. And that's where we can look for ways to enrich their learning experience, because those students have to have at least a year's growth, just like every other student. They can't just kind of stay flat, or they're never going to get to their potential. So, and we're pretty excited about this. This is a draft. We are in and doing it right now, but we know it's a living document. And as we find what's not working or what we could do better, we're going to make adjustments. But shout out to the district leadership team, which was kind of pushing for this. The subcommittees of people who have worked on RTI over the last 5,
They're a big
6,
committee.
7 years. Our teachers, our principals and assistant principals, and our new literacy coach, Lisa Spetz, who has put a lot of time in kind of taking all of that information and putting it into this document. And so we're excited to see how this flows, what's the ease of use for it for teachers, and what kind of adjustments we have to make. But I do think it is going to help us be a lot more informed about the needs of our kids. It really individualizes it for every student. So, and you look, and it looks like a lot of assessments, but the universal screeners are quick 60-second reads for kids. So
And you say 3 times a year they'll be screened, right? So we
yeah,
can kinda
every
check
student
them.
will get 3, and that's been the case for
I love that.
as long as I've been here.
Well, I'll tell you what I love, because I'm really happy to hear this, and I like how you're explaining it to us. And I know that education has evolved over the years, absolutely. But I have 2 children that I don't know what it was called way back when.
Balanced literacy, more than likely.
Was that where they taught him to spell it how he heard it, and he still can't spell to this day?
That would be whole language.
That was horrible. And then,
That's how I was taught to teach. Yeah.
oh, that was terrible. And then I have another child that really struggled with reading, and
She came in with balanced literacy.
but there was really no additional help or intervention in kindergarten and even first grade. That I was, kept being told that, sometimes it takes some kids a little longer to catch on.
Mhm.
So, and that would have made probably the world of difference had we had something like this back then. So I'm just really, I'm really excited and relieved that these kids that need the extra help will be, and apparently it's been going on for a little while, so I'm glad, but I'm very pleased that these kids are getting the help they need.
And this is more prescribed, and it's more evidence-based, as opposed to, well, let's try this, or let's try that. And it's, everybody's
everyone's
always
doing
had
it,
great intentions. It's just, there's a
Absolutely.
lot of science out there now about reading, and we have to make sure we're using it.
And I think, the open court is a big piece, but that grant that we did at North and then replicated the work at South with letters and the Haggerty training also were a big piece to this, which is also putting us in the position to be ready for the, dyslexia law that's going into effect. So,
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done and the work that you guys are doing on this. Thank you. Because it really is so important.
and he practiced this so that it was user-friendly to him.
Well, I did. I was worried about handing you this document with all these letters. I wanted to make sure
I'm
that
not
somebody
trying
who
to
doesn't know what
embarrass
these
you,
letters mean,
But,
don't.
That makes sense. That was-
Maybe you
it
could
was
take a look
clear.
at that website a little later, Dave.
Any questions on that for me?
No, thank you so much.
All right, ready for recommendations then?
Okay,
All right. Under the personnel motion, we're asking you to enter into the employment contracts. First, the following substitute teachers as approved by the Educational Service Center and/or the Madison Local School District's Assistant Superintendent under a one-year limited substitute teacher contract, beginning with Olivia Fate and ending with Amanda Zintz. The following persons under a one-year limited contract as a preschool assistant at the hourly rate and compensation listed below. Julie Baldner, 3 hours per day, $10.20. Following persons as a casual day-to-day sub. Ryan Parsons, employed Karen Ratkowski as an intervention specialist at Madison High School under a one-year limited contract effective October 12, 2022. For the remainder of the contract year, the following certificated personnel under a one-year limited supplemental contract for the 22-23 contract year, beginning with Brett Tomko. And we do need to make a correction. Jackie Berry and Shannon Sampson are co-math club advisors, and Dana Clark, again, is the senior class advisor. So it would be Brett Tomko, instrumental music director, Jackie Berry and Shannon Sampson, math club advisor, and Dana Clark as senior class advisor.
Okay, I don't have a Dana Clark on here, so we're
Right,
adding, we're
adding
making
Dana
a,
Clark. That was a typo.
okay, so do we need to do something formal to the agenda?
No, we're just
Okay.
correcting. This is a correction.
Okay,
It was because Jackie and Shannon are both there, and just add Dana.
Okay.
All right. And then we're asking you to approve the transfer of Laurel Kaufman from a 3-hour per day educational assistant playground to a 6.25 hour per day special needs assistant at South Elementary School. And then we're asking you to revise the employment contract of Lynn Laspina, accounts payable clerk, from her current contract back to 261 days effective October 10th. And so that would be the personnel motion, and then there would be a vote. You left the vote off.
Second.
any discussion?
so with Lynn picking up the extra days, are you going to need it to add an additional position to that office?
I am meeting with Mr. Bull and Mrs. Smith sometime later this week or early next week to see if there's a potential for just reorganization of some of the central office. And so after we meet, I think I'll have a better idea.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
for right now, we're keeping the, ship afloat, and
Okay.
after that meeting, we should have a better idea.
So we need to add a vote because we somehow eliminated that. We're just getting used to the formatting a little bit of the new agenda.
Okay, I had a first and second.
Roll call?
No, Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes,
and Mrs. Sensi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and this, the next item on the agenda is our annual resolution declaring the week of October 23rd through October 31st as Red Ribbon Week. I always do that. Where we are asking students and staff to promote healthy lifestyles, a healthy drug-free lifestyle.
I'll move.
No second.
Any discussion?
yeah, I got all kinds of questions. And I hope this never happens, but just to be proactive, do our SROs have Narcan?
They do not. I think we have to pass a policy to allow Narcan, and I'd have to look and see. It's been a while. I know that the police department has Narcan,
Right,
but I don't know if our SROs have Narcan.
yeah. Might be something that we might want to discuss.
Check into that. Yeah, they might very well. But I know there's been a lot of policies about that. where any staff could administer and all that kind of stuff. And again, that goes into training, comfort level,
Yeah.
risk assessment, those types of things.
Well, and thankfully, for anybody that's watching, I want to make it absolutely clear, we've had absolutely no cases in our high school, middle school, anything, but you just never know when something could occur.
Well, the big thing right now is the fentanyl that is looking like candy.
Yeah.
There's all over the news. And it's all over the country. So parents need to be aware that, check the candy, check things, because, fentanyl is taking on all sorts of different looks. And while we would hope that no little kid would get their hand on it, kids at parties and all those types of things, you just never know.
It's funny that you say that because I just recently learned of, it's a gummy rope. Do you know have you ever seen a Nerd's gummy rope? It looks like a Nerd's gummy rope. And it's not fentanyl, but it's pot in this Nerd's gummy rope. And it's, it looks exactly like a Nerd's candy.
They're doing a lot of types of things with the idea of hooking kids.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Horvath.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, on the consent agenda tonight, there are 3 items. One is to approve the programs listed below for independent study. It's the 12th grade English AP Part 1 for Ethan Stathera. To amend the agreement with ComDoc to include a production printer at the Board of Education office as found on file. And to enter into a contract with Lavera Party Center to rent their facility and catering services for the Madison High School prom, which is being moved as found on file in the board.
This new printer, how much more will that be?
It was adding to the total cost of the contract.
But
Yeah, we looked it up. I had Susan give us, it's not a lot because
It
it's
was
still a
on-
savings.
it was under $2,000.
Yeah, it's in our
Other.
thing. I don't remember what it was,
Yeah,
but I
I put it in
remember
the
reading it.
update. And one of the things that I will say is that things like the graduation program will be able to be printed in-house. So where we're paying $2,000 to an outside company to do that, we'll no longer have to do that. Business cards we'll be able to print in-house.
Oh, that's nice.
The shout out cards we send, we'll be able to print in-house.
Wonderful.
I think one of the biggest complaints we've heard this football season is because Ms. Rodriguez was trying to save money doing the football program online. Well, people like that souvenir to put out on the graduation table. Next year, we'll be able to print that in-house. So there are some benefits to adding this printer
Almost.
without.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So we do not have a need for executive
We do
session
not.
at this point. We thought we were going to, but we won't. Sarah, do you have a need for executive session?
No.
We have a motion for adjournment.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Horvath.
Yes.